Welcome back everyone, it's Charlie. This is going to be my new Thor 4 video for Cosmic Thor. We have a bunch of Beta Ray Bill Easter eggs that we found in the previous Marvel movies, including Avengers Endgame. That's right, there's even some Beta Ray Bill Easter eggs in Endgame. So we'll break all those scenes down and the most powerful versions of Thor in the MCU and in the comics. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. We're doing an Amazon giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave your favorite version of Thor on the video, from the comics or from the movies. So we'll start with all the Cosmic Thor, most powerful versions of Thor, then I'll talk about the Beta Ray Bill scenes in Avengers Endgame and the other Marvel movies. We've gotten a bunch of teasers for Thor 4 Love and Thunder so far. We know a little bit about what's going on with Christian Bale's villain. I know everyone wants him to be Gorr the God Butcher. Right now, he's just the top tier choice, but there are a number of other big cosmic villains that he could be playing. But starting with number 5, Thor between the events of Thor the Dark World and Avengers Age of Ultron, because it's implied during that period he was wearing his special magic belt, the Megingjord, which doubles his strength. The belt that was referenced by Happy when he was packing up the rest of the things in the Avengers Tower, all the different belongings, because they just sold it to a quote-unquote mystery buyer that we still don't quite know who it is as of Spider-Man Far From Home. I got a lot of questions when Thor Ragnarok and Infinity War and Endgame came out. Why wouldn't Thor wear that magic belt to double his strength when he was fighting all these different battles? Usually that's just because you have different writers and directors working on the movies and they have different ideas about the journey that they want to take the character on. Like Thor has an arc during Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. He's dealing with the grief and loss of his people, the loss of Loki. So the Russos didn't give him that belt just because it would have made him super OP and subverted some of that arc at the beginning of the movie till he eventually got Stormbreaker. Number 4, Thor from Thor Ragnarok, after he'd realized the true source of his power. The hammer is just there to channel your power, the natural ability that you have as a god. One of the things they did with this movie is get into more of the mythology of Thor in the MCU and treat him more like an actual god and less just like an alien from another planet. You have to think of the Odin Force, the Thor Force, is more of this innate biological field that they generate because they're so deeply tied to magic in the MCU. But the ambiguous way that they explain it, they kind of make him seem like he is an actual deity within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And if you were confused, there is an actual god, capital G, of the Marvel Comics. He's called the One Above All. I don't know if they're ever going to get into that in the movies. Probably not, but they might imply that there's some higher sentience above eternity. Number 3 is Thor during Avengers Infinity War after he'd obtained Stormbreaker. So you have low-level god-tier Thor who just recognized where his true strength lies, learned about the Thor Force and learned how to use it, but now he has gained Stormbreaker, the king's weapon, which actually requires the strength of a king, someone like Thor with his power, to be able to wield it correctly and use all of its abilities. The reason why Stormbreaker is so much more powerful than Mjolnir is because, as they say during Thor Ragnarok, the hammer was really just there to help Thor channel his power before he truly knew how it worked. Then there's all the other abilities that Stormbreaker gives him, the ability to open a Bifrost at will. The reason why he wasn't as powerful during Endgame is just because he'd lost his confidence. He didn't lose the Thor Force, so he still had the same level of abilities available to him. He just wasn't quite firing on all cylinders, even though it was really cool to see him dual-wield Mjolnir and Stormbreaker.
Kill him properly this time.
2, next most powerful, is Cosmic Thor. Now, Cosmic Thor to the MCU will obviously be different from Cosmic Thor of the comics. Both very cool concepts. The brand new version of Cosmic Thor that just debuted in the comics is actually a version that Galactus gives the power Cosmic to, making him his herald so that they can team up to stop this Black Winter sentient star plague. Bringing it back around to the movies and what's happening after the events of Avengers Endgame, Cosmic Thor is a version of Thor who's basically dealing with god-tier problems around the universe and no longer has time or doesn't really want to be King Thor anymore, so he kind of passes on his duties. That's basically what he does at the end of Avengers Endgame when he passes the title of King of Asgard to Valkyrie so that she can deal with the day-to-day stuff and he can go deal with big cosmic problems. They're very vague about what he's going to be doing with the Asgardians of the galaxy, and even though they've confirmed, thank you very much Vin Diesel, that there will be crossover between Thor inside Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and the Guardians will appear during Thor 4 Love and Thunder. That part of the journey of every Thor story, regardless of whose movie he appears in, whether it's the Guardians or Avengers Infinity War or Thor 4 Love and Thunder, to make a Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball Super Goku reference, is that it's all about Thor getting his ass handed to him by a villain. In Thor 4, it's going to be Christian Bale's villain character, then rallying, finding an even deeper well of power within himself to achieve new heights of strength and defeating that villain. So the next tier up for MCU Thor is basically a cosmic version of Thor, but it's not going to be like the power cosmic version from the comics recently, just because we don't quite have Galactus yet. And for those of you wanting to see Silver Surfer in the MCU, remember, he actually spent a lot of time in the classic Thor comics, so I am hoping that at some point in the future we see a Silver Surfer Thor crossover. Everyone post your Marvel Point Break memes on the video. But the crazy thing is that Cosmic Thor isn't even the most powerful version of Thor. The most powerful version is still, 1, Rune King Thor from the Avengers Disassembled era of Marvel Comics. This is a version of Thor who was able to obtain the Odin Force, but a much more powerful version of the Odin Force than Odin was ever able to tap into. The reason why he's called Rune King Thor is because there's these Asgardian runes that allow him to tap into a much deeper well of magic and abilities, give him god-tier power, way beyond what Odin was ever able to obtain. He eventually becomes one with the universe itself. He's nigh omnipotent, so obviously that's not a version we're probably going to see in the movies, but there was kind of an Easter egg for Rune King Thor during Thor Ragnarok. There was a deleted scene from the Infinity Saga box set where Odin literally lays hands on him and passes the Odin Force to him. Then later in the movie, he recognizes his own power and is able to tap into it, so it sounds like for a brief period, they were thinking about doing a version of Rune King Thor for that movie. But moving into all the new Beta Ray Bill, Thor 4 Love and Thunder Easter eggs, we actually just found some more Easter eggs in the other recent Marvel movies. There have been some Beta Ray Bill deleted scenes in earlier Marvel movies. Kevin Feige just said they're saving the character for a big upcoming story. Recently, Marvel just posted the screenplay for Avengers Endgame. There were obviously a ton of deleted scenes and moments that didn't make it into the final cut of the movie, but one of them is actually a big Beta Ray Bill Easter egg. When the Avengers go back in time to get all the different Infinity Stones, you go to 2014 when they're trying to steal the Power Stone. During this, you see a bunch of scenes with Gamora, Nebula, and Thanos of 2014 culling half the population of an alien planet talking to each other. It's revealed in the screenplay that this planet is actually Corbin, the home of the Corbinites, and the home of Beta Ray Bill. Now, this character that they're fighting is not Beta Ray Bill. This is just another Corbinite wearing a giant suit of armor. The Corbinites themselves don't look like Beta Ray Bill. The reason why Beta Ray Bill looks like this is because his people genetically modified him to become even more powerful and defend them from anybody that sought to do them harm. Think about the timeline of this too. This is happening in 2014, before the events of Thor Ragnarok. And during Thor Ragnarok, we found out that Beta Ray Bill really was a character. They actually deleted some of his scenes early on. The reason why his head shows up on the Grandmaster's Tower is because he was going to be one of the members of the Contest of Champions before the Hulk came along, so it's implied that the Hulk defeated him when he came to Sakaar. So it's implied that Beta Ray Bill had to leave the planet or flee when Thanos killed half of the people in exile, and that's how he wound up in the Contest of Champions. The really cool connection to Thor 4 Love and Thunder, Beta Ray Bill and Thor, is that in the comics, when they first met each other, they actually fought. In the movies right now, Thor still wields Stormbreaker, but in the comics, that's the name of Beta Ray Bill's hammer. His hammer looks a little bit different. He was given that hammer by Odin after he defeated Thor in combat. Imagine how much Beta Ray Bill would hate Thor for not protecting his people, knowing that he was supposed to become king after Odin, and that the Avengers gained the ability to time travel, and Thor didn't use that to help the Corbinites and Beta Ray Bill's people. So early prediction, that's one reason for them to fight each other. Beta Ray Bill would be pissed that the Asgardians were not helping them, protecting them the way they were supposed to. The other funny connection to the movies too, you have to remember, is that during 2014, when Beta Ray Bill's home planet is busy being culled by Thanos here, is that it was actually while Loki was pretending to be Odin, also not really being king, mostly just chilling out watching plays of himself. But everyone, let me know in the comments, what's your favorite version of Thor, and who do you want to play Beta Ray Bill in the MCU? Hopefully, they'll keep him around and he can join a future Guardians team, even if they don't do more Guardians films after Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I will do more Guardians 3 videos as we get more information about that movie, but they're not going to start filming it for a while. I've got a bunch of big Marvel videos coming up, so as long as you have alerts enabled, you should see those videos when I post them. There's a special Marvel project that I just announced too. I'll link that video at the end of this. Everyone, click here for my Thor 4 Christian Bale video, and click here for that big announcement about the Marvel Rewatch project. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe. I'll see you guys tonight.